It's been a long time getting to this chapter. There were several things I had to do before, but now I'm here. I got the touch, I got the power. Yeah, I get it because this is chapter 11. The name is called The Touch. Stan Bush, if I could play your song during this chapter, I would gladly do so. It would fit so freaking well. But, anyways. Yeah, I'm really sorry for the delay in this chapter, guys. It's just, along with recording a stuff load of chapters over the day, I have also had to redo my recordings of chapter 5 and chapter 7, because I recorded them, but I may have accidentally deleted the recordings before I could upload them. So I've had to do those two again. You may see I may give you an explanation as to why in chapter 7, but at least I managed to get them done. So I wouldn't, because I don't really like leaving stories complete. I wouldn't like to just continue recording videos knowing that I skipped some chapters and left you in the dark about certain things that are going on. Because I want to help everyone to see in the story, at least, why certain things that happened in the early chapters and the newer chapters are the way they are. So, I managed to record those two. My voice is a bit exhausted. I'm gonna find somewhere in this lovely forest to sit down, and then I will continue as always. I'm basically at the same log that I recorded Rock Band on. So, almost fell down. Let us continue with chapter 11, The Touch! Riley stood quietly in the center of her room, the morning sunlight filtering in through her window. Taking a deep breath, Riley slowly exhaled it as she made a gentle pushing motion with her hands, thrusting forward with her legs with her weight resting on the balls of her feet. Taking another breath, she drew her arms back to her, swirling them around her head before gently thrusting her elbow forward. "I think we're getting pretty good at this," Joyce's voice said inside Riley's head, bringing a small smile to the girl's face. "I would hope so," Disgust stated. "We've been practicing this every day for the last 2 weeks. "Riley?" Joe's voice called as the girl heard her mother's footsteps making her way up the stairs. I'm just checking that the data isn't on yet. Yes, no, good. "You coming? It's almost time for school." "Be right there," Riley called as she grabbed her cell phone off her bedside table and scooped her backpack up off the floor. Wait, did she have a cell phone in the movie, or did she get it when she moved to San Francisco? Wow, I'm really confused. I've got to see those movies soon. Stepping out into the hall, she smiled at her mother, who was waiting at the landing of the stairs. She could feel her mother's emotions, happy and loving, radiating off of her, present but unobtrusive. The sensation encouraged Riley, and she approached her mother with a skip in her step. I forgot to mention that in the previous chapter, after we cleared up chapter 10, what we learned was that Riley had gained superpowers, apparently, due to the fact that she became an empath. The bad news was that she could feel other people's emotions and ended up getting overwhelmed by them for a bit. But the good news is that our favorite OC, who is now the official MVP of the fanfic, Takahito Sensei, taught Riley Tai Chi in order to help her control her powers better. So, we are currently, I believe that this is going to be the final chapter before the SFIT SFIT showcase. And I hope that a certain character's fate turns out a bit differently. Anyway, sorry, was just finishing up. Riley apologized as the two of them began making their way down the stairs. "No problem," Joe replied with a smile. "You've really gotten into that Tai Chi stuff the last few weeks." It's relaxing, Riley replied as they reached the bottom of the stairs. It helps me clear my head. I suppose that's one way of putting it, Joy added with a chuckle. Joyce. I keep forgetting to nickname her Joyce. Plus, it's also real martial art. Riley added proudly. If you actually put some force behind the moves, you could hurt someone. I know that's how I like to clear my head, Anger stated with a dark chuckle. Well, try and hold off on the hurting people while you're at school, okay, killer? Joe requested with an amused grin. Sure thing, Riley answered with a grin of her own. Opening the front door and turning back to her mother, she closed it behind her. Love you. Love you too, Joe replied, the corresponding emotion washing over Riley before her mother shut the door and the girl made her way down the stairs to the sidewalk. Glancing across the street, Riley smiled as she saw Tip exiting her house. Okay. Something new that I'm going to be doing while reading this. While I'm on my walking expeditions while reading, or while I'm at home, I'm going to have a bottle of water or a separate drink with me at all times so that when I drink it, I can at least keep my throat from getting it a bit out of hand while I'm recording these non-stop. Morning, Riley greeted suddenly as she jogged across the street. Morning to you too, Tip replied with an amused giggle as they began walking down the street, another warm wash of happiness enveloping Riley. You know, I miss that. What? Riley questioned in confusion, the smile never leaving her face. Your whole sunny disposition thing, Tip explained as they walked. It feels like it's been a while since you've been yourself. It's good to have you back. Aw, isn't she the best? Joyce cooed. It's good to be back, Riley replied as she stopped walking before she pulled Tip into a hug. All right, Tip laughed, quickly returning the hug before gently pushing Riley away. Let's not get too lovey-dovey. What would your boyfriend think? Riley brushed brightly, tucking a stray strand of hair behind her ear as they started walking again, causing Tip to snort in amusement. Why does she always need to make it so embarrassing? Disgust wondered aloud. You're so easy, Tip commented with a shake of her head, her brown curls dancing around her head. How's he doing, anyway? He's almost done with the microbots, right? Yeah, Riley confirmed with a nod of her head. He's pretty much got the neurotransmitter figured out so it won't blow up, and he's been assembling a whole mess of microbots. I think he's got a couple of those big rolling recycling bins full of them now. He should be ready for the expo this weekend. Oh, right, because in the movie Big Hero 6 during the inventing montage, there were recycling bins full of them. Man, where does he get the stuff to make all of this? Tip questioned. I mean, his aunt just runs the cafe. She can't be making that much money. She's not, Riley confirmed. Riley says Hiro says most of the stuff that he has, he found in junk piles and the like and refurbished. I think Tadashi has been sneaking him some supplies from the school as well. I know O's been helping him with some stuff too. Now there's a troubling topic, Tip commented with a sigh, her happiness replaced with anxiety. What are we going to do with him? I don't know, Riley answered, Tip's worry stirring up her own before she could get a hold of them. I mean, what can we do with him? He's an alien, for crying out loud. An alien some shadowy company wants to experiment on, Fear added with a panicked squeak. I know, Tip agreed with a frustrated sigh. I know, but we can't keep him in the garage forever. No, we can't, Riley said with a nod. Kaz has already come close to finding him a couple of times, and Hiro says she would not handle it well if she found out. Maybe one of the others will take him, Tip questioned hopefully. I mean, a couple of them live alone, right? I guess, but... Riley sighed as she thought over the situation. It's all just temporary, Sanus commented. It's just hiding them until there's a better plan, but... There's no real way out of this, is there? Riley questioned dourly. Interesting. So, not only do we have some nice commentary on the emotions, and it's all well timed, but it's stuff like here with Samus and Riley, where one of the emotions will say something and Riley will finish the sentence for it. Clever, really clever, Finmonster. Of course there is, Tip asserted, the feeling of her confidence hitting Riley like a smack across the face, snapping her out of her morose thoughts. We just need time to figure out what it is. You're right, Riley agreed with a smile, allowing Tip's confidence to bolster her own. We'll figure it out. That's the spirit, Tip commented with a grin as they approached the school, the sight of which caused the girl to let out a depressed sigh. For now, though, we have to worry about getting through yet another day of school. One day at a time, Tip, Riley said with a chuckle as she looped her arm around the other girl's shoulder and they made their way up to the school together. One day at a time. Okay, I think I've rested up enough to begin walking again. Lola, get off the log. Yeah, as always, I have Lola with me, and she has just been standing on the log that I was just sitting on earlier. Later. Tip and Riley spend the afternoon after school similarly to how they spend many other such afternoons, sitting around in Hiro's garage. Currently, Tip and O were sitting on the couch, the girl impatiently trying to teach the booth how to play one of the video games Hiro owned. Hiro was currently hunched over one of the workbenches working on the neurotransmitter, Riley sitting next to him, helping where she could. A half-dozen blue, plastic, rolling recycling bins sat in the center of the garage. With microbots! There! Hiro shouted happily as he sat up straight and threw his arms and hands into the air triumphantly, the force of his elation almost causing Riley to fall out of her chair in surprise. I think I've got it! For real? Tip questioned, looking up from the game and walking over to the workbench, O trailing behind her. Yep, Hiro answered, holding up the new neurotransmitter, an unadorned metal circle. With this baby, I should have the microbots at my beck and call. Are we sure this is a good idea? Hiro questioned. What if he ends up like us? Or worse? Is it safe? Riley asked nervously. Safe as it can be, Hiro reassured her. It's designed and built by me without any of that pesky booth tech, so there shouldn't be any problems. Booth are best at many things, O stated bashfully. Integrating with other technologies is not one of those many. It is good of me to be voicing O again. You can say that again, Tip commented with a snort. Booth are best at many things, O started to say, but cut himself off with a yelp of pain as Tip hit him in the arm. Yeah, oh, you don't really need to repeat what you just said. Still, if it does end up rewiring my brain, I'm hoping for telekinesis, Hiro joked. And my brain has already been rewired already due to the fact that I ended up stuttering on the exact same sentence 3 times. Riley couldn't help but giggle at that, sensing the amusement and hope radiating off of Hiro. I think it'd be cool to be able to blow stuff up with my mind, Tip commented with a smirk. I knew humans could not do that, O declared, giving Tip an accusatory look that caused the girl to roll her eyes as Hiro and Riley. Alright, fire it up, Tip said encouragingly as she turned her attention towards Hiro. Let's see what you got, boy genius. Yes, commence with the burning in an upwards direction, O added excitedly, earning yet another eye roll from Tip. I am most excited to see your device in activation. Smirking, Hiro lifted the transmitter up and placed it on his head. There was a quiet pause as Hiro and the others waited for something to happen. When nothing did, they all let out a collective sigh of relief. Alright, still conscious, Hiro observed. That's already a noted improvement. Yeah, you've already been knocked out before, and your arms were... And I would really prefer if your arms did not burn again. Thank you very much. Does it work? Riley questioned. Only one way to find out, Hiro replied as he stood from his seat and walked over to one of the recycling bins. Flipping it open, Hiro peered inside, looking at the massive black microbots piled on top of one another. "Alright, everyone should give me some room," Hiro stated as he took a step back from the bin, the others backing as far away from the boy as they could. Taking a deep breath, Hiro thrust his hands out, palms up, before lifting them into the air. As he did, there was a rumbling sound before the microbots began to rise out of the bin as a single black mass, the robots clacking against each other as they moved. "It's working!" Hiro laughed as the microbot mass continued to rise. "It's working!" Lowering his hands, the microbots fell to the floor, spilling out of the bin. "Why are you moving your hands around like that?" Riley questioned. "It's man-made telekinesis, Riley." I don't know," Hiro admitted, looking like the question had caught him by surprise. "I wasn't really thinking about it. You're right, let me try..." Hiro's voice trailed off as he narrowed his eyes in concentration, his tongue sticking out from between his lips. As he stared at the microbots, they began to move again, swirling around Hiro until he was standing knee-deep in them. "It's actually harder to just use your mind," Hiro commented. "Let me try something." "Well, when you were using your hands earlier with your mind, it seemed to be working really well." As Hiro lifted his hands up above his head, the microbots swarmed around him, crawling up to his knees before lifting him off the ground, forming a thick pillar beneath him. "Psych! I called it." "Yep, it's definitely easier when you do the hand motions," Hiro said, looking down at the microbots with a megawatt grin on his face. "Must be a mind-and-body type thing. Plus, it looks cooler. Mind, body, and soul. Derby Hex." Making a pushing motion. Sorry. I stopped for a minute there because I was watching Lola. Making a pushing motion, Hiro caused the microbots to lower him back to the ground before they pulled around his feet and he stepped away from them, taking the transmitter off as he did. Grinning, he turned his attention towards the girls and threw his arms out dramatically. "I think someone is ready for the expo," he declared with a laugh. "It works!" Joyce exclaimed. "It actually works!" Grinning, Riley ran over and pulled him into a hug, which Hiro quickly returned. "This is great!" Riley said happily as she pulled away, holding one of Hiro's hands in hers. "I'm so excited for you!" "You want to give it a spin?" Hiro asked, holding the neurotransmitter up for Riley to take. "Oh, no, Fear quickly interjected. "We can't put it on. It might mess us up worse than we already are." "He already tested it on himself, numbskull," Anger snapped. We're not going to just stand here looking like a chicken." "He's right," Joyce agreed. "We could totally do this." Riley smiled before reaching out and taking the transmitter, before reaching up and placing it on her head. Taking the transmitter and reaching up. Not just put it before there, and never before there. Just put an "and" there. As soon as it had settled on her head, Riley felt a feeling of disorientation. Gosh dang my burps! Sorry. As soon as it had settled on her head, Riley felt a feeling of disorientation flood over her, and she had to take a step to steady herself. "Yeah, it feels weird at first," Hiro commented, grabbing one of Riley's arms gently in an effort to stabilize her. "That's why I gave it a moment when I first put it on. It should go away in a second." Sure enough, the dizzy spell passed after a moment, and Riley was able to keep her balance on her own. "Thanks," she said as she smiled at Hiro. "No problem," he replied with a slight blush as he ran a hand through his messy hair before gesturing to the pile of microbots. "Now let's see what you can do." "Go get it, girl," Tip added for encouragement. "Show him how it's done." Nodding, Riley turned her attention towards the microbots and was immediately struck by the sense of them in her mind. It was an odd feeling for Riley, distinct from her sense of other people's emotions. She found it akin to the presence of a limb in her mind, though without any of the tactile senses that went with it. It was simply there, waiting to be used. Whoa, Joyce said in wonder. That's pretty cool. If we keep putting in add-ons, we're not going to have any room to sleep, Hanger grumbled. Smiling, Riley slowly lifted her right hand, causing the pile of microbots on the floor to stir, the tiny robots shifting around one another. Putting a little more force into her thoughts, Riley lifted her arm higher, her wrist locked. As she did, the massive microbots surged up, rearranging themselves so they could stand taller as Riley brought her arm higher. After a moment, Riley stopped raising her hand and the massive microbots froze in place, now standing as tall as her. Riley then slowly lowered her arm again, causing the microbots to pull on the ground once more. Nice, you're getting the hang of it now, Hiro encouraged her. It's pretty easy, which I guess is the point, Riley replied, looking at Hiro before turning her attention back to the microbots. I wonder... Reaching out again, Riley made a pinching motion with her hand before raising her arm, keeping her wrist loosed. As she did, a single strand of microbots, magnetically connected end to end, rose out of the pile. The others watched in amazement as Riley pulled her arm back, causing the rope of microbots to reach towards her, growing longer as necessary. As Riley pulled her arm back, she began rotating her wrist, which caused the rope of microbots to start spiraling as it approached her. When the rope was close enough, Riley reached forward, putting her arm in the center of the spiraling strand of machines. Opening her hand back up, Riley quickly wrapped her fingers around the rope, which in turn caused the microbots to constrict tightly around her arm. Reaching up, Riley grabbed the rope with her other hand too before closing her eyes in concentration. As she did, the rope lifted her off the ground, causing Riley to laugh in delight. The rope gently carried Riley over to the other microbots, which pulled around her feet as the rope deposited her back on the ground before breaking apart. Whoa! Hiro exclaimed in surprised awe. That was amazing! You're way better than this than me. OMG, he's praising us! Disgust yelled from inside her head. Act cool! Say something cool! Thanks, Riley muttered, blushing as she brushed a stray hair behind her ear. Her blush turned a shade embarrassed as disgust groaned in her head. I was going more along the lines of... Microbot snake. Got any more tricks up your sleeve? Ted questioned with a smirk. I think I do, Riley confirmed with a nod, her brow furrowed in thought. Let me try something. Spreading her feet, Riley took a deep, calming breath before slowly bending her arms and raising her hands, palms up, so they were level with her chest. As she did, the microbots clouded over one another as they rose up as a single mass, surrounding her up to her hips, but not touching her. Smiling, Riley made a pushing motion in front of her, causing the microbots to flow forward before sliding to the ground and spreading across the floor like a wave crashing against the shore. Adjusting her stance, Riley began to crouch and turn to one side, sweeping her arms along behind her. As she did, the microbots floated along with her, rippling like water being dragged in the wake of a person's hand. Lowering herself to one knee, Riley dipped her left hand into the massive microbots, the tiny machines quickly flowing over her. I'm gonna quickly say microbots about 3 times fast. Microbots, microbots, microbots. Nailed it! Grinning, she lifted her right hand up to her left arm and ran her fingers up to the shoulder. This caused the microbots to crawl up her arm, following in the wake of her fingers. As the first microbots reached her shoulder, Riley looped her arm over her head, trailing her fingers across her shoulders, before gracefully extending her arm to the ground, resting her fingertips on the cool, concrete floor. As she did this, the microbots crawled across her shoulders and ran down her arms before rolling onto the ground, pulling around the right hand. Riley stayed in that position until the microbots had flowed from her left side to her right, giggling as she felt the tiny robots crawl across her arms and shoulders. As soon as the last microbot rolled off her hand, Riley made another pinching motion before she started to rise in a slow spin, her right arm trailing behind her. As she did, the microbots again formed a single file rope, extending towards her right hand as she pulled it away. Riley continued to spin in place as she finished standing, the entire microbot swarm forming into a rope that followed in her hand's wake like a jet black ribbon. Eventually, Riley stopped spinning and held her right hand in front of her face, still held in the pinching position. At the same time, the microbots froze. Most of their mass coiled around her with one end raised, like some giant metallic snake that was staring Riley down. Slowly, Riley moved her from side to side in a flowing motion, the microbots matching the movements like a cobra following a snake charmer's flute. After a moment, Riley stopped with her hand directly in front of her nose, the microbots freezing in place. Slowly, she extended her hand, closing her hand until she only had her index finger raised. Grinning, Riley extended the finger and tapped the microbot's tip, prompting them all to decouple from one another and clatter to the floor, pulling around her feet once more. You got the touch. You got the power. When no hair's breaking loose, you're right in the eye of the storm. Turning back to the others, Riley found them staring back at her in mute awe. After a beat, O grinned widely and began applauding Riley. He awkwardly trailed off when he noticed Tip and Hiro had not joined him, the two of them still staring at Riley. Is the clapping of hands not a human sign of impression and congratulations? O questioned in confusion. Holy crud, Tip whispered, blinking her eyes and shaking her head clear. I mean, holy crud, Riley. Did we do something wrong? Fear questioned with worry and confusion. What? Riley questioned, looking nervously at her friends. Riley, Hiro began to say, before he paused as he tried to find the words to what he wanted to say. That was amazing. Riley blushed brightly at that. Oh my god, don't just stand there, say something! Disgust pleaded. It wasn't that impressive, Riley mumbled as she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Are you kidding? Tip asked in shocked confusion. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Riley, I don't think I could have ever done something like that, Hiro added with a smile. It was being very impressive, O agreed with a nod and a smile from his large mouth. Oh, come on, anyone could do that, Riley argued, averting her eyes as she rubbed the back of her neck in embarrassment. That's the whole point of these things, aren't they? They're supposed to be really easy to use and stuff. Yeah, it's supposed to be intuitive, Hiro agreed with a snort of amusement. But not that intuitive. Huh? Riley questioned in confusion. Wow, Disgust sighed. He must think we're so articulate. What I'm saying is, you just put the transmitter on for the first time and did things I would never even have thought to do, Hiro said with a tone of amazement as he walked over to where Riley was standing. I mean, when you got them to flow across the ground like they were, I don't know, water or something, how did you do that? I was just using Tai Chi. Riley explained with a shrug, averting her eyes and smiling shyly. Tai Chi? Hiro questioned in confusion. It's a martial art, Riley explained. It's all about redirecting energy and stuff. Redirecting? Hiro asked with a smirk, amusement and surprise radiating off of him. I wouldn't have thought a hockey girl like you would turn into something so passive. What a dork, Joyce commented with a chuckle. I dropped my glasses, they're fine. Just try and get them... Oh, fine, I'll hold them like this. Hockey isn't all I am, Hiro, Riley stated as she playfully punched him in the shoulder while rolling her eyes. Besides, there's nothing quite like getting someone to slam themselves into the boards. Hiro laughed at that before his expression turned pensive. I just had an idea, Hiro announced. Do you think you could do me a favor? Sure, Riley replied with a smile and a shrug. What is it? You might want to hear me out first before accepting, Hiro informed her. It's kind of a big favor. Come on, Hiro, Riley chuckled as she rolled her eyes and crossed her arms. Just tell me what it is. I thought you might be able to demonstrate the microbots for me at the expo, Hiro answered, giving her a nervous smile. Wow, really? What? Fear exclaimed. We can't do that! He wants us to get up on stage and demonstrate his things in front of a bunch of important people. What if we mess up? I can't do that, Hiro, Riley started in surprise. It's your invention. You should be presenting it. I can tell you you'd be way better at showing the microbots off than I would, Hiro reassured her. The important part is that I made it. I mean, nobody claims the Wright brothers were the world's best pilots just because they invented the airplane. He has a point, Joyce stated. But we could still mess up, Fear argued. And if that happens, what would they think of his invention then? But what if I screw up? Riley questioned, fearfully, her voice quiet. What if I make you look bad? Hiro regarded her for a moment, and Riley could sense the trust he had for her. Even with all practice she had been doing to shut other people's emotions out, Riley couldn't shut out Hiro's. Sometimes she swore she could sense what he was feeling, even when they weren't around one another. Reaching out, Hiro laid a hand on Riley's shoulder and gave it a soft squeeze. You're not going to mess up, Riley, Hiro reassured her, giving her a small, genuine smile that matched his emotions. You're going to be great. Come on. Don't you want to be my lovely assistant? Riley's face turned scarlet and she averted her eyes, as she unintentionally pictured herself dressed in the traditional outfit of a magician's assistant. Oh, come on, Tip groaned from behind them, rolling her eyes and crossing her arms. Give me a break. It was Hiro's turn to blush as he pulled back his hand and ran it through his hair, Riley shooting a glare at Tip, who chuckled in reply. She just can't help herself, can she? Disgust sighed. So, what do you say? Hiro asked hopefully. Will you help me out? I'm really not sure about this, Fear whined. Come on, Fear, live a little, Joyce teased. We've got this. Okay, yeah, Riley agreed with a smile. What's the worst that could happen? Oh my god! Why did you have to say that? Why did you have to say the freaking trigger phrase? Trigger phrase, whatever. Office note. Bit of a shorter chapter this time, but I had a lot of fun showing the microbots in use. Hope you guys liked it. Yes, I did, Finmonster. And, we got about 2 chapters before, I don't know. I don't care. Just, I promise you I don't know much about... Okay. Alright. Later, y'all. Later. Bye. See you next time. Master Ranger and all the good stuff. Keep moving forward. Have a nice day. Bye.